Hello everyone and welcome to Conditional Statements in Logic. So we're dealing with if-then statements. That's a conditional statement. Let's try to remember that it's always going to have an arrow. That's a single arrow. That's the symbol for conditional statements. There are three variations of the conditional statement that you need to be familiar with. For this video, we're going to be dealing with the statement, if I go to the movies, then I do not get popcorn. So please make sure you write all these notes down and copy each of these slides. So we're going to the next slide now. The first one is the inverse. So the inverse, the easiest way to remember the inverse is it starts with an I and an N. So that's how I remember it, I negate. So if you see the sentence, if I go to the movies, then I do not get popcorn, what we're going to do is add nots everywhere. If I don't go to the movies, then I do get popcorn. So we basically negated each part of the sentence, and this is what it would look like. If I don't go to the movies, then I get popcorn. So now we're going to go to the next slide. The next one is called the converse, and converse, it starts with the letters C-O, so I have a great way to remember that, and it's change the order. What we want to do is we want to change the order. So see this part over here where it says, I do not get popcorn? We're going to switch it with the part that says, I go to the movies. So, when we change the order, it winds up to be the following. If I do not get popcorn, then I go to the movies. Notice that we are just switching places with both parts of the conditional statement. The hypothesis becomes the conclusion, and the conclusion becomes the hypothesis. So, again, converse, change order. The next one is kind of interesting, and it looks like this. In the next one, we are doing what's called the contrapositive, and we have to apply both rules here. So the part where it says, if I go to the movies, I do not get popcorn, we are switching those. That's kind of like the converse, and we are also adding the nots, or taking the nots away. So we are going to switch and negate. When I switch and negate, the contrapositive of the original statement winds up to say this. If I get popcorn, then I don't go to the movies. So notice that we switched and negated. Again, the contrapositive is the big long word, and that means to do both, switch and negate. The next slide. If I go to the movies, then I do not get popcorn. Logically equivalent is a fancy word for the contrapositive. Logically equivalent is the same as the contrapositive, so we're going to switch and negate. The Regents likes to use the words logically equivalent because they ultimately have the same truth value. So we are going to take this part, go to the movies, don't get popcorn, we're going to switch them, and we're also going to add the don't part. Don't go to the movies, and we're going to add or take away the not part, and this is what it would look like. If I get popcorn, then I don't go to the movies. Notice that this is the contrapositive, and that's the same as logically equivalent. And then a recap for all of you. A recap. Inverse, I negate. Converse, change order. Contrapositive, you're going to switch and negate. And the words logically equivalent are the same as the contrapositive. Thanks, and I'll see you tomorrow. Please make sure you write all this down.